All right, welcome back everyone to This Explainer. If you're gearing up to completely ace that MIVA exam, you are in the absolute perfect place. Today, we aren't just memorizing dry theories. We are unpacking the invisible software that runs literally every business transaction in Nigeria. We're breaking down exactly how culture dictates business success, or spectacular failure, in the real world.
Here is our game plan for today. We're using a structured 5-step formula. Step 1, define dimensions. Step 2, model the framework. Step 3, local application. Step 4, local friction. And finally, Step 5, exam synthesis. Let's get right to it. Starting off with Step 1, define dimensions and the cultural OS.
To really get this, picture this scenario. A well-funded German company sets up a brand new subsidiary in Nigeria. They do the whole town hall thing, install an anonymous suggestion box on the wall, and tell the staff to just drop in their honest criticisms. Well, that box sat on the wall for 6 months. Nobody dropped a single note. Zero. Nada. Now, it wasn't because the company had no problems. They had plenty. It stayed empty because they completely violated the cultural code.
And that story brilliantly illustrates our core definition for today. Think about your smartphone for a second. Just like iOS or Android, culture is the invisible operating system running silently underneath every transaction, every management decision, and every customer interaction. You don't consciously think about it, but it dictates what behaviors are permitted. And just like with tech, if you try to deploy a foreign operating system in a completely different local market, your business functions are literally going to crash.
Honestly, this is why this 5-step formula is your ultimate cheat code for the MIVA exam. Whenever you get hit with a tricky cross-cultural management or market entry question, you just process it through these exact 5 steps to build a flawless answer. So for Step 1, you always want to anchor your definitions in Geert Hofstede's 6 dimensions of national culture. Hofstede surveyed over 100,000 IBM employees to map out these differences, so it's a massive data set. And alongside Hofstede, you absolutely must define Edward T. Hall's high and low context communication framework. It's crucial because it explains not just what people value, but exactly how they communicate those values.
All right, moving right along to Step 2, model the framework. You're going to want to take a screenshot of this table right now. Seriously, memorize these specific scores for Nigeria because they are the anchor for your exam answers. Check out that power distance, or PDI, sitting way up at 80. That means a strict hierarchical order is fully expected. Then look at the individualism score, just a 30. That means we're dealing with a highly collectivist culture where loyalty to your in-group comes before almost anything else. You've also got moderate masculinity, moderate uncertainty avoidance, low long-term orientation, and a remarkably high indulgence score. Burn those numbers into your brain.
Now, layering Hall's framework on top of that, Nigeria is definitively a high-context culture. What does that mean in practice? It means the real message usually lives outside the spoken words. It lives in the relationships, the shared history, the nonverbal cues. In a low-context culture like Germany, no literally just means no. But in a high-context culture, a polite, "we'll consider it," might actually be a very firm no. And trust me, missing that has a massive impact on business negotiations. Which brings us to Step 3, local application, focusing on real business failures. Let's pull that power distance score of 80 back up. Remember our German company with the totally empty suggestion box?
This quote from an Ireland user totally nails why that happened. Anonymous was not a thing that could exist if the OGA wanted to know. In a high PDI culture, junior staff are deeply conditioned to believe that criticizing the boss, the OGA, is inherently dangerous. Their internal threat alarm completely overrides any corporate promise of anonymity. That score of 80 practically guarantees that upward feedback is going to stall out.
And speaking of missing the cultural cues, Shoprite is the ultimate case study for a structural cultural mismatch. They entered Nigeria in 2005 with a model that worked perfectly down in South Africa, but they brought the exact wrong operating system.
It was a massive mismatch. Shoprite assumed consumers wanted low-context, standardized, fixed prices. But they totally missed that in a high-context, collectivist culture, the negotiation, the actual relationship, that is the product. Bargaining isn't some annoying inefficiency. It's a vital social performance of trust. And because they couldn't adapt to that cultural code, a 20-year operation literally ended in a permanent closure announced for 2026. Now, as you're reviewing Hofstede's scores, you might trip over what looks like a huge contradiction. How on earth can a culture be highly collectivist, meaning suppressing the individual for the group, and simultaneously be highly indulgent? It feels like those two concepts should cancel each other out, right?
Well, the resolution is actually brilliant. In Nigeria, indulgence is performed for the group to validate success. Just think about the sheer scale of Owambe parties. When someone buys a luxury car, it isn't just a quiet, private desire. It's a public broadcast of status to their entire network. So if you get a marketing question on the exam, note this down. You have to sell aspiration as a highly visible statement of group membership, not just a private pleasure.
All right, let's kick it over to step 4, local friction. If you want to absolutely crush this exam and get top marks, you need to show the grader you can critique Hofstede's blind spots. For instance, Hofstede treats Nigeria like one single aggregate culture, but we know it's a federation of hundreds of distinct ethnic cultures. Look at Igbo trader networks. They display way higher individualism and geographic enterprise than that national average of 30 suggests. This is driven by historically decentralized village structures and the Igbo boy apprenticeship system, which actively funds individual business creation. You've got to point out those nuances. Plus, think about Hofstede's original data. He surveyed formerly employed IBM workers. That completely misses the massive 57% of Nigeria's GDP that operates entirely in the informal economy. So, make sure to tell your examiner, the framework is a fantastic directional map, but it is not an exact GPS coordinate. Finally, we arrive at step 5, exam synthesis and our simulated quiz. Let's put it all together. Here is a classic exam-style question. A multinational uses a fixed-price checkout model in Nigeria. According to Hofstede, what is the primary cultural mismatch? I'll give you a second. Think back to the Shoprite case study and what Nigerian consumers actually expect. Okay, here's your synthesis. The correct answer centers on Nigeria's collectivist and high-context profile. Stripping out the relational layer of bargaining creates a transaction that just feels culturally cold. When you force a fixed-price model, you eliminate that vital relational ritual, and ultimately, the whole thing fails. So if you take absolutely anything away from today, let it be this. Culture is not an obstacle, it is a specification. Once you truly understand the cultural specs, high PDI, collectivist, high context, you can actually design hiring, marketing, and management systems that run smoothly on the local operating system instead of constantly fighting against it. I really hope this explainer leaves you feeling fully equipped and confident to tackle that MIVA exam. But beyond the test, I want to leave you with a real-world question for your own ventures. Are you still trying to run your business on an incompatible foreign operating system? It's time to learn the code, guys. Keep studying, keep pushing, and I will catch you in the next explainer.